Tonight, 2 people are behind bars and a home has been raided as the investigation into an explosives-laden caravan in Sydney continues. What could have been the worst terror attack Australia has ever seen, narrowly avoided as police race for answers.
This would have been the most significant terrorist attack and loss of life in our country's history.
A potential mass casualty event, which is chilling, which is disturbing.
The last few months have been like a living nightmare.
A chilling escalation, labelled terrorism by our leaders.
It's designed to create fear and terror in the community.
Police yet to make that call as disturbing new details emerged about an abandoned caravan discovered by a local on the side of a road in Dural in Sydney's northwest on January 19th. Inside, power gel explosives, strong enough to create a 40-metre blast.
They are almost exclusively used in the mining industry.
No detonator was found, but there was a note with the address of a synagogue and key Jewish targets, as well as the words, the Jews.
Anybody who happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time can be a victim.
Police and the PM today defending their decision to keep the discovery secret.
The fact that this information is now in the public domain has compromised our investigation.
I don't comment on operational matters.
The Jewish community angry that they were left in the dark.
There's no fear that is greater than the fear of the unknown, and that actually adds to the panic and in some cases even hysteria, and that just plays right into the hands of the perpetrators of these crimes.
2 people who police say are on the periphery of their caravan probe had already been arrested under Strike Force Pearl, which is currently investigating 15 alleged attacks across Sydney. Just last night, 2 homes, a shopping centre and a school were defaced with anti-Semitic graffiti.
Do you agree that somehow this has got to stop because it's got no control?
Of course, I agree that anti-Semitism has to stop. Full stop. People are being arrested, they're being charged, and they're in the clink without release. That is occurring.
Terrified communities fearful the next attack might find its target.
People are really, really scared in this moment.
There's frustration at the seeming inability of the authorities to bring this under control, and there's anger about that as well.
Joining us now is terrorism expert Greg Barton. Greg, they've said the explosives here were enough to create a 40-metre blast zone. Just how different is this to anything we've seen before in this country?
Well, it's completely different from anything we've seen in Australia, but even you think back to the Islamic State Caliphate attacks in France and across Europe, you know, we saw homemade explosives, TATP. We didn't see mining-grade explosives like this, nothing so powerful. So this is pretty unusual outside conflict zones to see this stuff.
So you mentioned mining-grade explosives there. The police are saying they're actually exclusively used in mining. I mean, what does the fact that they could get hold of explosives like this tell us about them?
It tells us it's probably organised criminals that have done this. It's really hard to penetrate the supply chain and storage security. This stuff is so dangerous that it's really kept very secure. We don't normally hear of it getting into public hands. So not any sort of petty con or some extremist who has an idea would get hold of it. It would take organised criminal links, I think.
Right, Greg, because that element there, the organised criminals, that's what I'm interested in, because we were hearing last week as well about organised crime potentially being involved in anti-Semitic attacks more broadly. If that does turn out to be the case then, and with this one, how should that change how police and government are responding?
Well, it just compounds the problem, doesn't it? I mean, we do have a problem with growing hate, including anti-Semitism. We have to own that. But AFP is saying they're investigating the possibility of offshore foreign actors in terms of even nation states and their security agencies trying to undermine confidence in Australian democracy. We've certainly seen that happening across the Northern Hemisphere. That may be a factor here. It may be something domestic. But the fact that people could be motivated just by the greed of money and not some deep sense of conviction about a cause in some ways just broadens and makes things worse because it's another level of complexity to deal with.
I think it's important to note as well that ASIO, they hardly ever speak out, but they made a point today to say that there's no ongoing threat to public safety and they're not going to raise that terror threat level. What will their reasoning behind that be?
Well, when they first discovered this caravan, and of course this comes in the wake of a series of investigations about anti-Semitic attacks, they would have been checking communication channels, looking at known suspects, trying to figure out who was behind this. And clearly from what they're saying publicly, and they sort of put the reputation on the line here, they're confident that there's no one else involved, there's no other networks, there's sort of no plan B that is ready to kick into action. So that's a big call, but it's really reassuring to hear it from them.
Is that why, though, if it's that kind of investigation, the complexity of it and so on, is that why the police seem kind of upset that this has become public?
Yeah, it's a good point, Wally. I mean, any ongoing investigation, but particularly a really serious one like this, you want the element of surprise. You want to surveil people without them knowing what you know. And of course, something like this being leaked out now, it tips people off. Hopefully it's been enough time past that they've done that heavy lifting and the investigation work, but it obviously makes their job harder.
Greg, thank you very much for speaking to us. It's always very insightful.
Thanks very much, Wally.